is a special one to talk about the political season. And I am live with Adeyeye. Femi is a member of the African Action Congress. Yesterday, there was conference by lawyers, Nigerian Bar Association, that invited presidential candidates to discuss, to chat, discussion about the progress and the future of Nigeria, especially the next phase of actions in 2020. But something was noticeable. A particular presidential candidate, Sowore, was exempted or excluded from participating. So Adeyeye Femi wants to react to the exclusion of, and let us have what he has to say. Good evening, Femi, and how are you doing today?
Good evening, Shegun. Thank you very much for having me. Good evening, Nigerians. Thank you.
All right. So, what is your reaction to the NBA conference yesterday? You saw the presidential candidates and how they discussed topical issues. Let me start with your impression about the quality of conversation they had.
All right. Thank you very much. To put the answer very straight is to say that the major reason or what I consider what should be the grand theme, even as the NBA themselves said, it's a bold transition, was missing totally at that event. And this is without prejudice to every other candidate who were on that platform. We could not hear anything bold. There were no bold ideas. It's just the whole talk about the problems of Nigeria and all. To start with is to talk about the man who represented the Emilokon candidates. That's Tinubu. I'm talking about his vice presidential candidate, Shetima. Shetima came on that platform and then was about, mistaken, who could just mistake him for a comrade because he was just ranting. He was wailing about the problems of this country, what the government has not done, and all of that. And then you begin to ask yourself, does this man belong to the APC? Is it still the same government in power? So that aspect is just so bizarre to listen to. So no one actually came up with the bold ideas that would show that we are moving from one point to another, like the NBA had said in their grand theme, which is bold transition. So we're expecting, or let me say, Nigerians were actually expecting that there would be some form of it's going to be a coming together of ideologues. People who can.
I guess there's trouble with this network over there. Part of the troubles we are discussing about in Nigeria. And the big transition. We need to transit from internet troubles, electricity troubles to solutions. Let us hope that it gets back right in time. But anyways, we are busy discussing, and I have Adeyeye live with me. We are discussing the issues that were on the table at the NBA conference yesterday in Lagos, away from the addressing of the APC representative, that is Alhaji Shetima, away from other distractions that Nigerians are necessarily trying to bring up. Of course, issues were discussed. For me personally, while we are waiting for Adeyeye to come back, for me personally, I really think that all the candidates had something to say. Most of them had something tangible to discuss. All of them ranted about the problems of Nigeria. They all had something to offer, in all fairness. My only worry is why Nigerians would rather highlight petty issues like how Shetima appeared, the wardrobe malfunction, and the challenges that are trailing it. And I'm like, if the person who dressed like that were to be their own preferred candidate, would it have been the same mockery or mimicry or whatever? But because, Nigerians, that's exactly what they do. And, why are Nigerians not talking about the content of the conversations they had? What each candidate actually brought forward? Why are Nigerians not about what's the issues. In fact, the topic itself. Why are Nigerians rather interested in the kind of shoe one candidate wore, the kind of dress? The same thing happened in 2019 when a lot of Nigerians came up to say, look at Sowore's hairstyle, it's not presidential. Look at the way he dresses, it's not presidential. And I'm like, when are we going to start having serious conversation and start being real, okay, about the issues? The same thing is already playing up again. I asked another question the other time, and I said, imagine, for instance, that the person who said Agbado, corn, and cassava, of course, young Nigerians, netizens went online and started making a whole lot about it. They made mock musical mixes, videos, and all that just to mock Tinubu, which is fine. For me, it's the entertaining side or the entertaining part of politics. So I have no troubles or problems with that. Now, I now said, what if it was Tinubu who said, I get advice from Madman on Opi Road? Do you know it would have also trended as another mock mixes? But Nigerians are like that. We always pretend not to see the issues. If the gaffe or the error came from our own, the candidates we have sentiments for, we play it down, we defend it. But if it came from somebody we really don't like, even if it makes a whole lot of sense, we will just condemn it. Just not because there are no merits to what the person said, but because we just don't like that person. Why are Nigerians like this is just my trouble exactly. All right. Now, look at another idea that was discussed on the Twitter Spaces today, and I was privileged to address it. When Sowore talked about marijuana, a lot of people are now condemning it. They say, oh, Sowore is not looking at the side effects of marijuana and all that. And I said, come, if you don't want to vote Sowore or you hate him because he kicked out, he exposed corruption under Jonathan, and a lot of people also saw that what he did actually played pivotal role in exposing that Jonathan was not fit for office and had to be kicked out. All right. Aside, if you hate him for that, it's fine, hand it. But don't come and be creating lies all because you don't like Sowore. Saying, oh, he doesn't know that the side effects to marijuana and all that. Come on. If that statement, for instance, about marijuana and the potential economic importance of it, if we export it, were to have been by your preferred candidate, say for instance P2B, of course I understand that a lot of Nigerians would have started going to make more researches beyond what P2B himself said. They will go make more researches about so many values and importance, variants of uses of marijuana, and use it to back the candidate. I understand Nigerians to be like that. Similarly, if it were P2B who said that Agbado, corn, and cassava, trust me, most of those people supporting P2B would have make researches about the different things you can extract from Agbado, corn, and cassava and be using it to back candidates. But you see, if you ask supporters of this candidate, why do they feel the candidate is the best? They'll tell you because he was one-time governor and we have tested him and he tried. Is the same thing not applicable? So if you want to reject Tinubu because he was one-time governor in Lagos State, and you want to accept P2B for the same reason, then the hypocrisy is already very clear. Okay. So let's stop all this objective, let's be factual. If you are rejecting Tinubu, we are rejecting all the old gang up all together. Otherwise, we are not tired. For me, I always said that Nigerians deserve the oppressors they hype to power. And this 2023 election is not going to be different. You all deserve what you hype to power. So I'm no longer emotional about these things. I'm just saying, let's clear our minds. You hate what you hate. Okay, Femi is back. Let's have him. Yeah, Femi, welcome back. Whatever happened to you, was that Nigeria happening to you?
Yes. You have network.
Anyways, I understand you. Just before we even started, you had to go and turn on your set and all that. Sorry, you have been coping, and then you cope further. So let's talk about the exclusion of Sowore at the NBA. So let me have your reaction. You were about to tell me your reaction to it before the internet took you out. Yeah.
Can you hear me now? And how
Yes.
audible
Go ahead.
am I? All right.
Yes. Very well.
Um, it is within the right. It's very important that we make this very clear that it is within the rights of the professional body, that's the Nigerian Bar Association, to invite whosoever it deemed fits or it feels like inviting to their own program. So I think that needs to be made very clear because I've read it in some quarters where people are trying to say, is Sowore trying to get crash into the event and all of that? No, Sowore would never do that. That's just some kind of, you cheapen the discussion by making mention of things like that. So that being said, but another part of it is to make every Nigerian understand that what the NBA did yesterday is actually a show
What's
that
happening
this
again?
association, um, how was the network?
Just go ahead. Just can hear you now.
All right. So how clear am I?
Just go ahead. We can hear you.
So please just manage the background noise too. So what I'm just trying to say in essence is that the association also showed directly to Nigerians that it has lost some kind of moral rectitude or the moral compass to put up the kind of how do I put it now? The kind of things that an association like that should do. And if you look at what the one of the greatest lawyers in history, that even some of these lawyers they quote, that is Sapara Williams. He made it very clear that the role of legal practitioner in a society is to be is for the advancement of his countrymen. So the NBA excluded a man in a discussion that has a lot to do with democratic transition. From every other candidates that were at that event, none of them played active roles in the transition to democracy. In fact, the spokesperson for the Tinubu campaign, Festus Kiyamo, tweeted long before now that Sowore played an active role in the transition. So you're having a discussion about transition to democracy, but you excluded the major person, someone who played an active role in that transition. It shows, it's going to show you that already you are taking away what you are depriving Nigerians from listening to the real issues, the things that really happened at that time, and how we need to move from this point to another. So what they have done is what we are already seeing in different class of the society. You talk about the media blackout that they're trying to force on Sowore just to make sure that they try to create some kind of three-horse race in this whole thing. And that's why when you see some of these their posters and they just post the three guys and then they try to exclude Sowore. So we understand all of this game. And that is what Showore's candidacy has come to tell Nigerians, that it's going to expose a lot of hypocrisy. It's going to expose a lot of class interests. Because how do you expect an Atiku and his boy Obi to be on the same platform with a Sowore? No, it's just like it's a suicide already on that platform, because he's going to dish out facts of the roles that Atiku played, when he contested in 1992 against Abiola and then lost. He's going to expose the roles that even Obi played in Anambra, which is, you're talking about democratic transition, but this is somebody for 8 good years that did not conduct local government elections. Sowore would expose all of these things. How do you talk about democracy and people do not have the government that is closest to them, which is the local government in a state under Peter Obi? So they know all of these things. And many of these lawyers also have these guys as their clients. So you want to take feeding trough from their mouth. That's what you're trying to say if you bring in a Sowore. So it is very clear that Atiku and his boy Obi must have told the top guys in the NBA, if you want us to come, don't invite Sowore. If you just want us to be at your program, don't invite him. And it works for their
Like if
interest.
you want
It
peace,
works for their interest. Yeah, if you want,
if you don't want
just
violence,
please just leave him if you want us to come. And most probably that is what they would definitely dance to, because Sowore does not have any shishi to give it to anybody. In fact, if he hires you as a
I will
lawyer, you
come
are
to, I will come
going
to,
to he
I
hires
will
you.
come
Sorry, let me
to.
add this. Even if Sowore hires you like as a lawyer, you are most likely going to do pro bono throughout. So is not a good market.
Okay, now there are concerns before I take you on the conspiracies you're alleging affect us in the society. There is somebody who is saying something that I want to pick question out from. No, sorry, this is not what I'm looking for. Somebody says, Oga keep quiet. They invited presidential candidates, not activists. I also understand that I've read so many comments on social media where people have concerns about the way Sowore conducts himself. A lot of people expressed concern and said he's not president enough. Okay, and what do you say about that? A lot of people believe Sowore is still acting like he was still in on campus as president of student union. He's not conducting himself in an acceptable manner in a larger society where politics is played in a different manner. What do you say to that?
All right, thank you very much. When we said we can't continue like this, we are very clear on that mantra. So we can't continue like this means that we can't continue on this pattern of politics that you all know, or the kind of politics that is acceptable to the establishment, the kind of presidential posture that is acceptable to our society, that reeks of different hypocrisy and all of that. So he is a presidential candidate, a presidential material par excellence. And when people say some of those things, we understand, there's a part of banters, where you throw banters at each other, candidates, parties throw banters and all of that. But let's get to the issues. What actually makes a presidential candidate? Aside the requirement of INEC, which is that you must have gone through the primaries of your party, your name must be on the INEC portal. I don't know, can you hear me?
Yeah, very well. Go ahead.
Noise coming from your end. So your name being on the portal of INEC, submitting your EC9 form, affidavit form, submitting, in fact, we are almost the only ones who submitted previous candidates, and, then submitting your nomination form and all of that. Aside all of those things, what also makes a candidate is someone who has a clear program, a policy document that everybody can interrogate. As of today, the people you say are presidential, many of them don't have a manifesto. Many of them are telling
Hmm.
you we do, we do. Ask them about this, they tell you we do. Ask them about security, they will tell you we do. Take it from me, trust me. And yet, are the presidential candidates, people who don't have a plan, who are telling you they are going to build Burj Al Khalifa in Dubai, but the idea of that, the plan of the building is in their head, and yet they are the presidential candidate. See, there are some things that these guys they've done, and I'm doing this directly to the Obi camp. There are some things that Peter Obi and his vice president they've done that if they tried it in a more enlightened society, that will be the end of their political career. There are some things they've said that would definitely, because you can't be asked by a journalist that how do you fix this, and you're telling them that we do, or you are asked about manifesto and what you're saying is that a manifesto is a glossy paper. But do you know what? Because of the kind of society we have, because of the level of enlightenment and all that, these are the people you consider presidential. But the person who speaks to issues, even if you give him 5 minutes, 5 minutes, he would address the issue, would tell you about the problem, and you don't consider that person presidential. That goes to tell you that a lot of enlightenment still needs to be done in our society. And when I say that, I'm talking directly to those who are still sleeping, that you can wake. You cannot wake people who are pretending to be asleep. So there are some people that you don't waste time on them. They know the truth and they're just trying to be asleep. But for those who still don't understand, they must come to the enlightenment and the consciousness that we cannot continue on this path of hypocrisy. We cannot continue on this establishment kind of acceptance. You have to speak like them. If you are not presidential until you wear babariga, you are not presidential until you are seen with DSS running around you and all of that. You're not presidential until you walk into a place with hired crowd and people are screaming. You're not presidential when you speak the truth, naked truth. What they call presidential is being diplomatic. And diplomacy in Nigeria, or being diplomatic in Nigeria, is knowing, like I defined it, is knowing when to speak the truth, how to speak the truth, and to whom to speak the truth. That is what they call being diplomatic. But you have a Sowore here who is going to tell you what the problem is, and is not going to make bones about facing the people who are destroying our society. That's the kind of candidates, that's the presidential material that Nigeria needs at a time like this. Someone who will look at the faces of the economic saboteurs in this country and will tell them that we cannot continue like this. We cannot continue stealing from this country. At the time in this country, people were importing water and they were getting money for that water. They were getting subsidy for it. You need a presidential candidate that will look them in their faces and will say, you cannot continue on this path. We cannot allow you. We have people who are doing multiple taxation in this country. You need a presidential candidate who can speak to that effect. On the international scene, you need a presidential candidate that will speak at the level of the African Union and at the level of the United Nations, and nations will shiver. So this is the kind of person in Omoyele Sowore. So when you say he's not presidential, he's not a presidential man, this is someone who speaks at different international fora. He has spoken at PDF, a particular international organization that has several journalists across the world. He has spoken at different universities that I can't start mentioning now. But he's not presidential to the white people. Oh, sorry, he's not presidential to Nigerians, but he's presidential to the white people who are listening to him. It goes to say that there is a lot we need to learn and unlearn and relearn in this particular election area. And I think Omoyele Sowore's candidacy is helping in that effect.
I want to bring acceptability. Sometimes, like I tell a lot of people, that in most cases, a democracy, it's not usually about whether you're sound, competent, or you can do it. In Nigeria, especially in a democracy, it's about whether it's acceptable to the people you even want to liberate or you want to govern. Now, talking about
Yes.
acceptability, why do you think, so that you can just take this home as an assignment, maybe at the AAC party level, what do you think is the reason that Omoyele Sowore keeps fighting for Nigerians, keeps speaking the language of the oppressed masses, and yet it doesn't seem to still be accepted by the same masses who he is fighting? I'm saying, yes, if you look at it right now, of course, across sectors, you can see that he's been excluded on many platforms. They are blacklisted, they are pushing him out. Even on social media, a lot of Nigerians who are also oppressed are denying him and also speaking against him. If you go on even Showore's wall by himself, you see a lot of people antagonize him, they oppose him. All right. So why talk about the acceptability,
Okay.
the acceptance level of Showore in the society, and why do you think everybody is not already agog about him,
Okay.
despite all the
Let me
activism? Yes.
let me correct that impression because we do not think that is correct. Um, our candidate is generally accepted, and I would explain. I would explain this in the context of what you are trying to say: acceptability, democracy, majority having their way, having their say, and all of that as it concerns the candidacy of Omoyele Sowore. Number one is to say that our party came into play just 4 months into the general elections. I mean, it was registered African Action Congress, 6th, 2018. And out of the 81 political parties that were present there, we remain the only political party out of the numerous ones. So today we have 18 political parties. If we want to talk about acceptance, I think we should start looking at it with figures. So in 2019 elections, even the Labour Party that you're talking about, that people are talking about now, had just 5,000 votes. and Labour Party has been around since 2002. But you have an African Action Congress that came 4 months into an election and was allocated 33,000 votes. That's number one. Talking about acceptance. Let's talk about figures here. There are tools that you can also use to check mentions, check sentiment analysis, and all that, like digitally, to talk about acceptance, to understand how people are accepting the candidacy of Emele Sowore. So these are data. It's, we can talk about, their parlor talk is on one point. Figures are on another point. But then the ideological parts, which is the third part I'll be talking about now, is this. You see, we live in a society where people have been kept in darkness for a very long time. Let's accept it. Because if we're talking about acceptability, the masses also must accept their own reality. They've been kept in darkness for so long that they can't. So when you are in darkness for so long, it's a science. Your ciliary muscles can adapt to the point that you can begin to see in that darkness. You can begin to see in that darkness. So Nigerians have been kept in that state for a long time. That to now recognize what good governance looks like, it looks like a mirage. Some of the things that Sowore is saying now, they sound very utopian. They sound, how is this possible? You talk about 100,000 naira living wage, they say, no. You talk about, for example, I think you were on that marijuana discussion earlier today. Talk about marijuana, how Nigeria needs to export, how to make sure that we have the value chain from the marijuana as a natural resource, how we need to make full use of it, create jobs out of it. Just imagine waking up one morning in Nigeria and find out that we now have marijuana processing company of Nigeria. And that company alone would employ thousands of youths. But people will tell you that, no, that's not going to work. No, there are a lot of bottlenecks around it. No, our society is conservative. They will give you statistics to it. So, our society is 70% conservative. People will not accept it. They will always give you reasons. For one solution, you have a class that will give you 1,000 reasons why that solution will not work. So, but you must understand them. You must accept their own reality because they've been so much caged over time. So, but now we must also understand that people are beginning to wake up, But when you try to wake up too, it is not when you wake up you start seeing clearly. There will still be some kind of confusion. You still want to stretch your body and do all of those things. And that is what is happening right now. There's still a lot of confusion around. People are beginning to wake. There's a kind of consciousness among the youths but there's still some kind of confusion around it. But that would not stop the African Action Congress and Adeyeye Sowore as a presidential candidate from espousing these ideas now and ideas that are futuristic. When he was asked on EIT about your plans about education, he said, I'm not looking at the education that is basic, because the education that would bring the kind of industrialization that we want is not basic education. The kind of scientists, doctors, researchers that we need to put this country to put it on a production lane is not basic. The world has gone past that. I'm not looking at the budget of how to build classrooms, block of classrooms, and then commission it. We are looking at how to bring technology into this. But when you say some of these things, people can still not. So they are yet to accept, some of these things. But we would keep saying them. And to say the reality of today is that, and the election is going to show the difference between those who are under the frenzy of the moment, social media. People can do all of these things. One person has like 20 accounts. And if you check, you can do your research too. Many of these accounts are very new accounts. They have few followers. Then they start joining themselves. They call themselves, tomorrow we are retweeting this person. We are going to attack this person. We've seen many of that. And so they go under his post, they attack. Even before he became a presidential candidate, Adeyeye Sowore's timeline has always been like that. They will go there, abuse his father, abuse his mother, abuse his... We know people who do. Some of them have confessed to us before that where we run all of these things, we are not more than 5 who run these things. We just get different accounts and then we come. Then they will now make it look like it's the whole world that is against somebody. But why will somebody be saying those things that Sowore is saying, and you think the majority are against him? It's not going to be possible. Why will I tell you I will give you 100,000 naira living wage, and the person who will benefit from that 100,000 naira would be against me? Why will I say I will give students 100,000 naira support to grants, study allowance, and then they will be against me? Why will I say I'm going to create jobs through renewable energy and they will be against me? So the reality is that there is a burner part of it, the propaganda part of it. There is an aspect where you need to still wake a lot of persons. We understand that part, and we are not, you know, we're not slowing down to continue to educate people, to make them understand that we understand so well that we have not enjoyed, the dividends of democracy for a long time. We are so used to, being talked or over, being trampled upon and all that. But we cannot continue like this. Let us start on a clean slate, and then we can then understand. Nigerians can then understand what good governance looks like.
Let us look at the impacts that some events prior to 2023 will have on 2023 itself. There was NSAS uprising, and then at that time, the atmosphere had it that a lot of people believe this was going to be the turning point, that a lot of Nigerians have had it up to the throat, and they are tired of the politicians. Do you think, from what we are seeing, the way Nigerian youths are supporting the same politicians, the same parties, do you think NSAS really had effect? And if it had, what percentage would you value that it had at all in terms of changing the political narratives in the country?
Yes. You see, NSAS, I continue to say it's a political movement. And it's political because I understand so well that because I use political to it now, some persons will be like, no, it was just a movement against police brutality. There was nothing political about it. But let me explain. Political in the sense that it addressed political question. The fact that a police is beating you on the street, you're being brutalized, it's a question of policy. Some people put those persons there and they were trained in a particular manner. So it's a political question. So that's why it's a political movement. Some of these terminologies will be there explained. That's what we do at the AAC. We do a lot of education. Now, what has it translated to the present day politicking that is happening? It has done a lot to awaken the consciousness of the young people. Before, and I'll say this without mentioning words, Nigerian youths used to think the revolution now people are so radical. Those guys are too hot. That is why government is against them. That is why DSS will arrest them. They look at the things they are saying. So radical, in nature, confrontational, things like that. That was what was it, right? But throughout the protest of revolution now, there was never a time police officers shot at anybody, like killed anybody. But then what are people saying during NSAS? You don't want to die. They were just saying NSAS. That was it. Yet people were killed. That lesson from NSAS is to tell you that no matter what you call it, if you like move from revolution now, call it jubilation now, call it celebration now, provided what you are saying and the manner with which if you're standing against the interests of the powerful people in society, the political class, they will come after you. So that lesson, people picked it from NSAS. It's a good thing from NSAS. It's a lesson people picked from NSAS. It has helped the consciousness of the young people today. And you can see how people are going to get their PVCs. People are talking about, okay, even during NSAS, people are talking about creating a political party of the young people. So many things were happening at that time. At least the young people of this country who have always been labeled as BB Nigeria youths started getting interested in politics, started joining political parties. And if you check our party at the African National Congress, we have many of these NSAS youths who are running on our platform free of charge. It's part of our policy that every young person who participated in NSAS, who was part of it and then maybe brutalized, who was a victim of any abuse, can run on our platform free of everything, including the obligatory donations. And so we have a number of them running. So it's also a gain, in the political consciousness. Consciousness has risen to a point, but has it translated to clearer ideology of how to lead society or how to restructure society? I do not think so. I actually do not think so. And that is where the work comes in. It would have been easier if there was leadership at that time, if there was leadership, what they were, everybody was running away from. No, no, we don't have leader. We don't have leader. If there was leadership at that time to put the the demands, to make the demands more radical, to make the demands more pro people, to make it more or let me put it much clearer, and there was a kind of ideological leadership behind the movement at that time, it would have translated to a full revolution. But people were telling us at that time that, no, don't come into this, don't come in, it's not this thing. But when the SARS thing ended, when government said, oh, we've ended SARS, they just
Mm.
pronounced it. The people who understand, who have always been cheated by government, disappointed by government, know that this thing that the government said is not true. There was a class that said, they've disbanded it, let's go back home. There was a class that was totally fed up. And so they saw MSAS as just one, a minute part of the major reason. And they said, no, we'll be on these streets. And then the whole thing changed to end bad governance. So if there was a particular leadership at that time that could help harness this energy, by now, in fact, we'll not even be talking about elections. Would have changed this country, would have changed leadership, and then everything we'll be talking about now is how to start, fixing a lot of things. We would have fixed this country even by now. This 2020, this 2022, 2020. It's not rocket science to get things done. It's not rocket science at all. In China, they built a world-class hospital during COVID within 6 days. It is not rocket science to start getting things done, provided you fix leadership. So it has actually not translated to a clearer path to where society should go to. But consciousness, you and me will agree that it has been heightened to a reasonable extent.
Well, we are still ideologically, all of these things you said will definitely make a lot of sense if it were an academic discourse. But Nigeria, we are talking politics and practical to it. Let's discuss the road to power, and in saying to be more practical and realistic, the road to power. The whole idea of having Sowore as to become a presidential candidate. AAC was created around the idea of Sowore. It was created around Sowore. AAC, that was the creation idea, original, to drive the ideology of what it wants to come and do. That is why it would not join a major party. But Nigerians, I think that the structure of the party that just emerged is still very low, weak to drive a national competition. And Nigerians are also saying that there is need for him to collaborate with other big politicians and bigger party structures. Similarly, Nigerians are saying, well, if he doesn't want to work with the politicians because he feels they are too corrupt, that there is another person who has another movement, the obedient movement. Why is Sowore not teaming up with some Peter Obi, even if he doesn't like APC and PDP? At least Peter Obi has left the PDP now and has gone to join the Labour Party, which is a pro-workers and pro-masses party. So people believe that there should at least be some shared similarity between the driving philosophy or the creating principles that founded AAC and that founded Labour Party. So on that basis, people believe Sowore and Obi should be able to work together. Why is AAC not looking at this window?
All right. Let me first of all clarify the thing about AAC was created because of Sowore and all of that. How it started was the creation of the movement that Sowore
Take it
convened,
back.
which is the Take It Back movement. And so then the party came into life in August 2018 and all of that. So it's not a Sowore thing. And we need to be very clear on that. It's not a Sowore thing. The African Action Congress is a political party. It has its ideology, and as I speak to you right now, a lot of work are also being done, even on the manifesto, to make it in tune with current realities and all of that, on ideological basis and all that. So it's a political party that has an ideology, that has an operation, that has people in it. To also clear that blackmail of, okay, it's a Sowore thing, it's a Sowore party. You cannot go to INEC now and write, maybe to register a political party now, national chairman, Omoyele Sowore, treasurer, Omoyele Sowore, and INEC would register your party. So just to make that clarification. And so on the aspects of collaboration, which is what you're talking about, African Action Congress is clear on ideology, and it is saying that it can only collaborate with people with clear-cut ideology that is pro-people, ideology that is socialist and welfarist. And we've been talking to different people who we consider big. So this, elitist way of looking at things and then making it seem as if some people are small, some people are big in the society. You need to talk to big politicians, top shot politicians, and all that. We are talking to organizations that are big. We have an AAC Labor Relations Committee, and that committee has been saddled with the responsibility to talk to all trade union centers in the country, the NLC, the TUC, the ULC, to get everybody in line with the programs of our party and the manifesto, of the candidates. So there is that aspect. We're also talking to individuals, big individuals, yes, who understand the ideas. We are only going to collaborate on the basis of ideas. We are not going to collaborate because there is noise somewhere. Because something is trendy. Something is trendy does not make it right. It does not make it right. Buhari was trending everywhere in 2014. We know better today. There was a collaboration that brought APC to power. But we know better today. It was a collaboration then, right? And they all agreed. If you would sit back now and flash back to 2014,
so are you saying that the creating philosophy of the Labour Party does not match with those of the AAC?
Yeah, Labour Party believes in the ideology of we are relating, and this is why when I said AAC is relating, we have AAC Labour Relations Committee, and so we are talking to the rank and file and also the leadership. Do you get? So there is that aspect, and Labour Party has a manifesto of social democracy. Yes, it aligns, but then you have a candidate who does not even believe in the ideas of the party. And that is why a Peter Obi will not come up with a manifesto to the election. If he comes up with something, I'll be so shocked. Because this is a crude capitalist renting a platform that believes in social democracy. And that is why when they ask him about, so I want to see how you want to marry crude capitalism, an importer that wants to take us from consumption to production. I don't understand how it's going to happen. So you have a crude capitalist coming into a social democracy, platform. It's just Nigeria is sick. You want to treat Nigeria, then you are bringing AAS and AA. That's agglutination, like scientists will call it. You want to kill the patient. You will kill the patient. You want to kill Nigeria. That is it, and that is why.
Are you saying that leadership of the Labour Party does not know what they are doing when they made Peter Obi their candidate, their flag bearer?
I think that question should go directly to them, because by now
you're faulting it, but they must have their own considerations for making him their party.
You see,
presidential flag bearer.
You see, without mentioning words, let's make it very clear. The workers have actually left Labour Party. Labour Party is now a party that is being controlled by appendages of APC and PDP. And Sowore said this even before now, that it is now an orphanage home. And it's becoming very clear that it is now an orphanage home for anybody who has money to come into the place, use the people, drop money, just make sure you drop money.
Do you think Peter Obi gave money because he said he doesn't give shishi? Yeah. Do you think he gave money?
No, shishi is different from money.
Party too.
No, it's a former chairman of the Labour Party in the FCT made it very clear that Labour Party received money. Let them come out and tell us that they did not receive money from. Actually, I do not know the amount they are selling their form, but it's definitely in millions. That's the first one. The form of normal money they should pay, it's in millions. That's the Labour Party of workers. Workers who receive minimum wage of 30,000. Yes. So, but the form is in millions. I can't quote a figure, and I don't want to be like Peter Obi, so I don't want to say a particular figure about. Definitely, it is in millions. And another thing why I said workers have actually left Labour Party is that you have a candidate who is frolicking with Wike in the midnight, who will go and meet Mimiko the next morning, who will go and meet Obasanjo, who will go and meet all the anti-worker politicians that you know. And the neck or the NWC of the Labour Party, that's why when we say they don't know what they are doing, like you have said, I think it is correct. Yet they cannot call that candidate to order. Imagine Sowore was the one moving to go and meet Wike, to go and meet Atiku, or call Atiku his leader, mentor, and all of that. So you think the NWC of the AAC will not call him to order? In fact, it won't try that. But this is their benefactor. Peter Obi is the benefactor of Labour Party. They cannot stand in the way of their benefactor. They can't even question him. So the party has lost, the leadership has lost track, has lost what it should actually be. The workers should own the party, but they don't own the party anymore. The people you have in the party that are now bourgeois politicians who bring in money, and they just seize the platform for what they want to do. So, going back to our question, which is on collaboration, we'll be collaborating based on ideas. So, if your ideas sync with ours, already we are talking with different parties. We've written letter to the political alternative platform movement, TPAP-M, to have a discussion with them. We're planning on talking to ASU. We're planning on. So we have all of these things in line. We're talking to this other day. We were at a particular program of the TUC, where the Road Transport Employers Association of Nigeria even said anytime Sowore is coming to Lagos, that they are prepared to meet him and welcome him at the airport. So these are the people we are talking, and they're in their millions. So they are not small people too. So we are talking to people because we understand that you cannot take back Niger, or take it back, or take back Nigeria through the same paths that brought Nigeria into this mess that it is. You have a candidate who is meeting different characters, who is calling this one his mentor, and then you think it would work for the people of Nigeria. So it's not going to work that way. So we are not going to collaborate. We won't do that kind of collaboration. We'll be collaborating with the people of Nigeria who want peace, progress, and prosperity on a clean slate.
Funding was a weakness of your party in the last election.
By funding, you mean?
Having enough money to run campaign, to run election, election logistics. Do you think it was a challenge in the last election?
Yeah, economic resources definitely will continue to remain scarce. Adam Smith, right? So we tried our best. We, got Nigerians to donate, and for the first time in the history of this country, a presidential candidate will sit on a couch like I'm sitting right now and will beg for funds. I don't have money, help me. And we're able to raise over 150 million naira from that kind of, unprecedented. And we also gave, at the end of the day, the breakdown of how we spent all of this money. And beyond that, beyond the money that was coming from people locally or internationally, human resources, which is, you can't quantify it. The people would stay up till midnight holding meetings, discussing in huts, in villages, in towns about the presidential ambition of Omoyele Sowore. People who would print T-shirts on their own. People would the human resources around it was so enormous. There were so many things that we did in 2019 that if other parties would do those things, they would be accounting for billions already. Look at the declaration that we did in Abuja, even this year, the presidential for 2023.
Oh, network trouble again. I'm expecting him to join back. Well, we were discussing Showore's exclusion at the NBA conference in Lagos yesterday, and my guest is Mr. Adeyeye Femi. He is a member and an executive member of the AAC African Action of Mr. Omoyele Sowore, and so far he has been discussing. He gave his reaction to Showore's exclusion at the AAC at the NBA conference. He's also telling us why Sowore is not collaborating, or the AAC party is not collaborating with Peter Obi's movement and other politicians. I was waiting for him to wrap up with that so I could ask him how they intend to win without collaborating with major parties. But he's already giving us roll down to collaborations that are already in the pipeline. So I understand a lot of people watching live also have comments to make, and I've seen a lot of comments here. Some also saying they want to join the conversation. So I want to allow Mr. Femi Adeyeye finish, exhaust the points. Questions I want him to respond to. I think we back. Sorry, it dropped again. Let's just wait for. But the questions here include that I still want Mr. Adeyeye to respond to include whether they are not going to grow old contesting if their methods are not reviewed, because a lot of people believe that they are still using activism method, which only worked well on campus and may not match the political style of the larger societal political climate. But well, let's, while we are holding on for him to come back, I guess there is issue with his device. I want to let you see. Let's have a short commercial.
Please meet Mr. Abiodun Aki, a man who is looking to solve a big chunk of the housing crisis that we have in Nigeria by making affordable, self-sufficient homes. This kind of homes are becoming more and more popular, by the way, because they are efficient and they are environmentally friendly, and then it costs less to make them if you think about it in the long run. Anyway, before I tell you about the smart homes that he's building, let me tell you a little bit about his story. He's based in Canada right now, and he decided to build a house in Lagos, Nigeria, where he's from. But upon making inquiries, the cost of building a house has increased significantly since he moved to Canada. So instead of using concrete brick throughout his construction, he substituted it with laterite, and he was able to save 30% of the construction cost. Laterite has a lot of advantages, by the way, including warming your home during the cold weather, cooling your home in the hot season. It's cheaper because it's readily available. It's everywhere in Nigeria. It has high clay content, which means it can hold more water. Laterite gives you air quality. So if you build your house with laterite, you can breathe in better air quality. You can even recycle it. So if you build a house with laterite and you don't like it, you can break down and use the brick to build another house. And that's just to name a few of the advantages. But he didn't stop at building his personal house. He decided to make his house self-sufficient, off-grid, which means that he's not going to be dependent on the electricity from the Nigerian government. So he's using solar power, and he's also not going to be using power generator, so there will be no noise, no air pollution. At the same time, he's not using the regular sockaway that everybody uses in Nigeria. He's disposing his own waste.
So I have Mr. Adeyeye back, and so you were talking about, and I wanted to ask you how you intend to do better this time. Do you think the amount raised in the last election cycle was sufficient to do everything needed, and do you think you will not need more this time? And how do you intend to do better this time? Talking about financing the electioneering.
Yeah, it's a very simple question. Definitely, we need more funds. It was a challenge in the last election. I just gave an overview of what happened during the 2019 elections. How we were able to bring in both capital, human resources, and we were able to, we had a very nice outing. Nice is also to make it clear that there were a lot of things that we cannot quantify, and those things are also playing out even in in 2022 towards the 2023 election. So funding and financing will definitely come from the people of Nigeria. We would not be going to meet any godfather, because we want to see, we need to create we want to create a country where people would own government, and the candidates, or our presidential candidate, or any leaders this time around, or any political office, public office holder, AAC, will not be answering, the call of a godfather. If you get into politics by, getting money from a godfather, you will definitely dance to the tune of that godfather, or godfathers, or godmothers. It's as simple as that. And all of these persons have economic interests, they have business interests that are definitely, which would always have, which will be in direct opposites with the interests of the public. It's clear. We've seen it many times. People who have always said, "Oh, you can take money from anybody. Don't worry. When you get to office, you can change. You will become this." A lot of things were even said, even about Buhari in 2015 and all of that. When he gets there, he will start acting. But now let him collaborate with everybody. Don't talk to Tinubu. Don't worry, Tinubu is corrupt, but Buhari is not corrupt. And let him take money from Tinubu. He should take money from anybody. But when he gets there, he's going to deal with all of them. He's going to show them who he is. I think we know better today. So there are some things that I see actually do not. I can't. I think I should not labor to answer some of these questions. I will just show you the Buhari example. Buhari has so much explained a lot of theories to us. I will just, if you ask me any question, I'll just say, look at Buhari, and then the question is answered.
Okay, fine. How long do you think you're going to continue to contest using this activism method? Don't you think you guys are just going to grow old?
No, you said activism method. What does that mean? What does activism method mean?
Activism method by saying that you will not collaborate with existing, conventional politicians because you have ideology that is different. And of course, Nigeria is already enmeshed and entrenched and engrossed in so much corruption. Are you until you have angels to work with? Hasn't you still going to have to choose among the people and work with them?
Okay, so we are not extremists. We are very flexible people. We are people who understand that all of us can go to bed at the same time, but we may not wake up at the same time. People wake up at different times. So that is why we're taking our time to educate people about processes, about all of these things. And so when we say we can't continue like this, what we mean by we can't continue like this is that we can't continue on this same method. We've done this many times. I just give you an example of Buhari collaborating with everybody, and then they called themselves All Progressives Congress. That's what they call themselves now. In 2014, everybody collaborate, come together. But today, I think we know better. I think there are some things that you cannot work with. There are some things that you cannot do, and then expect that you will work for the people. So we don't want to mouth all of these principles, tell you all these things in theory, and then in practical we're not doing them. And then when we get to power, then we'll become, very, very useless. Because
weak like vegetable, unable to do anything, toothless bulldog. Anyways, before I let you go, Femi, there were some questions that popped up and they came frequently, and I just don't want to make it look like I don't want the question asked. Can you respond to this? Why are you guys not attacking APC like you have been attacking Peter Obi? Why are AAC members attacking Peter Obi as if it's the problem when the AAC is a problem we need to get rid of? Are you working for APC's candidate Tinubu because you're attacking Obi more than you're attacking APC?
If you ask Tinubu a question, I'm very sure he himself will laugh that is Sowore working for him. We've heard many of those things in the past. But talking about attack, that word attack, I don't think that should be the right word. People are using
criticize.
Yes. So everybody who is contesting is actually contesting to be the president of the country, not the head of their family house or their compound. So we need to bring everybody to public scrutiny. And we'll talk about the Agbado man. I started my speech today about the Emilio Con person. That was what I started with. So we criticize him, we criticize their policies, we criticize their person, their records, we criticize that of Atiku, we criticize that of Obi. So one is not pronounced more than another. But what people are just trying to pick from all of these things is that they want to shield a fraudulent material. And for us, we understand what the ruling class is doing. We understand that from NSAS, people have agreed that we are not going to go this way anymore. And so they went to create a material that would speak the language of the people, that would pretend to be with the
appeal
people.
to them.
Appeal to them. They did that with Buhari of 2014. Buhari also was putting on the regalia of being with the masses. And he was saying some of the things that we were saying and some of the things that some of the supporters were saying at that time. They were sounding pro-people. So another person has now come who is a creation of the ruling class to then, cause a kind of confusion among the people. And that's why we are making it very clear. We understand so well that many persons are falling over each other on this issue. But history would vindicate the just. That at the time where people were confused, that at the time where there was revolutionary confusion in the society, we were not confused about our stance. We were not confused about the candidature of Omedo Sowore. And we were not confused about the path that Nigeria needs to go.
I have to let you go, Mr. Adeyeye Femi. There will always be other times when we'll discuss other developing topics
Definitely.
in the Nigerian
And network
politics
will
and
be
as
a
the
problem
elections
at this time.
approach.
I said, and
Well,
network
you
will
really
be a
can't
problem.
predict.
Uh,
But not that one is not within your control. But let's just hope. Thank
all
you so
right.
much, everybody, for joining, and I want to appreciate you for this time again. So I'm signing out with this with the completion of the advert video I was playing earlier. Bye for now.
Material by decomposing it, and he's generating his own water. So once the house is completed, he doesn't need anything from the, and this is why they call this home self-sufficient off-grid homes. That alone inspires me. The fact that he was able to find an alternative to just spending so much house, and the fact that he doesn't have to depend on a government. He made himself a self-sufficient house. That is the inspiration for me. But then he took it a step further. So after learning from his own experience, he wants to do the same for others, except that he wants to do it better. You see the picture of the house, you may not be too impressed by the aesthetic, but he calls this the experimental house because what he has decided to do is to now mass produce kind of house for other people. In case anybody out there is interested in having a house that will be self-sufficient, he has bought acres of land in Lakeway Beach front in order to construct an off-grid estate. What you guys are seeing is what he would be constructing. All these houses would not be using NEPA, and they will be constructed with laterite bricks. If anyone is dead, he's looking for 10 people, just 10 people to start out. The price starts at 34 million naira for 3 bedrooms, and you can pay in installment. He has a contract readily available, readily prepared, which you can share with your lawyer to know if that's a good deal or not. I mean, some people may feel like that's a lot of money, but it's a one-time payment that you no longer have to worry about electricity bill. You no longer have to worry about paying them to empty your sock away and stuff like that. It's a one-time payment that you know that from beginning to end, you know your house is complete and self-sufficient. Anyway, I asked him, by the way, I said, what if someone is interested right now and they decided to pay you, and along the way they decided they're no longer interested, they don't like what they are seeing? And he said to me that your money is refundable as stated in the contract. He said he will give you back 95% of the money, and the remaining 5% is for administrative charges. He's using a system of interlocking bricks instead of the traditional style of construction, and this system results in a house that is 10 times stronger than traditionally built house, and also more terminally efficient. Each home would have its own fire system and will be conveniently located by a fire hydrant in order to make it easier for fire crews to help just in case of an emergency. We'll be building common areas that will have a gym, a playground, swimming pool, ball courts, grocery stores, and so on and so forth. And more importantly, the houses in his estate will reduce global warming and human carbon footprint. So guys, if you're interested, please check him out. This is website